Hello and welcome to Cinema of Blood. My name is John, and today 50 years of horror movies rolls into the 1990s. I've got 5 scary, spooky, frightening films from the year 1990. It's a nice day outside. It's only supposed to get to about 91 degrees today, which with temperatures lately, now this is September 12th or 13th, you guys are going to see this video way later, but right now it's September 13th, so let's pretend it is September 13th, because it is. And we've had temperatures of like 116 degrees, so 91 degrees, it's almost sweater weather, okay? All right. So yeah, I am all set. I got natural light coming in. I got my Werewolf Candle here, and I was just looking at it, and I don't know if you can see it up close. I'm going to bring it on up close here, because I wonder, the werewolf, I got this, I don't remember where I got this from, but he's got a nice snarl on his face. And I kind of wonder if it's because he's mad, he's about to hunt something, or because the candle is like really close to his werewolf parts, so to speak. You know, like, ow, you know. But yeah, that's my werewolf candle going on. He's got a finger missing right here, and you can't really tell it though. He's got a thumb missing. I don't know what happened to it. I bought this like this. I can't even remember where I bought this from. These are really cool. Alright, so now I'm going to shut up about the werewolf candle, and let's go ahead and get underway with this, okay? Alright, so the first movie we're going to talk about is Arachnophobia. Alright, so this is directed by Frank Oz. The story is by Don Jacoby and Al Williams, and the screenplay is by Wesley Strick. It stars Jeff Daniels, John Goodman, and Julian Sands. Alright, so what this movie is about is this really deadly spider. I mean, we're talking about a spider that if it bites you, forget it. There's no hope. You're going to die. It's going to be pretty much almost instantaneous, all right? And, all right, this spider gets sent accidentally from, I think it's South America, to here in the United States, and it ends up escaping into this small town. And in this small town is this doctor and his wife. The doctor's played by Jeff Daniels, and you find out that he is deadly afraid of spiders. Well, this spider gets loose. It mates with one of the local spiders, and then that spider has little tiny baby spiders that grow up, and they're pretty much almost as deadly as Papa Spider, okay? Alright, so you kind of see where this is going with Jeff Daniels being afraid of spiders. Guess who is going to have to be the one to fight these spiders and rid the town of this horrible spider plague, alright? It is our good Dr. Jeff Daniels, who, again, like I said, is afraid of spiders ever since one sat on his face when he was a baby, alright? Okay, so now this also features John Goodman in one of his coolest roles. He plays an exterminator who is just incredibly confident at his job, and he steals any scene that he is in. And then, of course, you have Julian Sands, who is Mr. Enunciation, because he is a classically trained actor, you know, so yes. But it all makes for a lot of spider fun. Now me, you know what, I'm going to say this, I love spider movies, but unless I love the giant spider movies, you know, but this was still a lot of fun, even though it is little itsy bitsy spiders, alright? So that is Arachnophobia. Alright, next up. It's so amazing. I'm talking about the third film in this series, and I talked about the second film, but I never talked about the original film, The Exorcist. But as you can tell, I'm going to be talking about The Exorcist 3. And this is actually written and directed by William Peter Blatty, who wrote the original novel, The Exorcist. And this is based on, I think it's kind of loosely based, because it seems like there's a lot of changes to it. It is based on his novel, Legion. Alright, so this movie stars George C. Scott, Brad Dourif, and Jason Miller. Yes, You heard that correctly. You have the star of the Changeling, the star of the Changeling, Chucky himself, and one of the stars of The Exorcist, all coming together to make one movie. But what it's about is George C. Scott is a police detective, and this is like 10 years or so, or 17 years or so after the events of the original Exorcist, and he is on the trail. He gets called in about a body. And the body, it's a murdered body, and it's like there's a serial killer loose, and it seems to be matching the modus operandi, so to speak, of the Gemini killer. All right, and the Gemini killer was like executed years ago. He's not supposed to be around anymore. Well, our police detective, played by George C. Scott, I believe it's Kinderman. I'm pretty sure it's Lieutenant Kinderman. Who was played by J. Lee Cobb in the first Exorcist. But anyway, he goes to this mental institution and he begins having these conversations with this patient, and the patient looks a lot like Father Karras, played by Jason Miller from the original The Exorcist. And if you saw The Exorcist and you know what happened to Father Karras at the end of the movie, you're like, wait a minute, this is not right. This is really weird. And what's going on is that this Gemini killer is using Father Karras' body as a vessel, so to speak, so he can do his nefarious deeds, all right? So that's pretty much the plot of The Exorcist 3. There are some really creepy scenes in this movie. There's one with this old lady spider walking up on the ceiling, and George C. Scott has no idea she's up there, and she just like looks down and this horrible grin on her face. And then there's this really one of the greatest jump scenes ever with this nurse, this hallway, this old Catholic hospital sort of thing, and this figure in flowing robes carrying this big thing of shears. All right, I'm not going to say anything more about it. It's just an awesome scene. All right. Anyway, that is The Exorcist 3. Okay. All right. Now moving on. I have seen this movie. This next movie I'm going to talk about, I've only seen it one time, and I remembered I liked it, even though it seemed like the critics didn't really like it. It didn't do too well at the box office. It's directed by William Friedkin, who, of course, like I just said, we were talking about The Exorcist. He directed the original The Exorcist. Anyway, the movie I am talking about is The Guardian. All right? So, this is directed by William Friedkin. The screenplay is by Stephen Volk and William Friedkin. And a little bit of interesting trivia about that. Originally, they wanted Sam Raimi to direct this movie. Sam Raimi instead said, I'm going to do something else, and he went on and directed Darkman. So they brought in Friedkin, and they had to give Stephen Volk credit for the screenwriting. But the only thing about it is, though, is that Friedkin kind of drove Volk nuts. I mean, he pretty much drove him to from what I understand, he drove him to a nervous breakdown, and then Friedkin took over writing, you know. I've heard that Friedkin can be a pretty intense director, like Kubrick was, you know. Anyway, it is based on the novel The Nanny by Dan Greenberg, and it stars Jenny Seagrove, Dwyer Brown, and Carrie Lowell. Okay, what The Guardian is about is this couple, they hire this babysitter, or nanny, played by Jenny Seagrove, to take care of their child, all right, their baby, all right. What they don't know is that she is like part of this druid cult, you know, these tree-worshipping, nature-worshipping druids, and she wants people's babies for like sacrifices and stuff, you know, and that's pretty much the plot of The Nanny, or excuse me, The Guardian. I remember there was one scene in it, and I'm trying to remember how it goes, but I think it was these guys, she's out in the woods doing her tree worshipping stuff, and these guys come along thinking, oh, well, there's a woman here, and we can do what we want with her because nobody can see us, and she, of course, makes them pay in some very horrific ways. So cheers to her for doing that, all right? Yeah, you don't do stuff like that. Just, they deserved it, all right? They definitely deserved it. All right, so yeah, that is pretty much the plot of The Guardian. Parents hire babysitter. Babysitter is evil druid, you know, princess or whatever you want to call her, evil druid, cult worshiper, something like that. Anyway, that's the Guardian. All right, moving on. I feel like I sometimes just can't do these videos without at least one trash movie. You know, one of those movies that is so trashy, but you just can't turn away. It's like a train wreck, a car wreck, whatever. You can't turn your head, all right? What I'm going to be talking about today is Frankenhooker. All right, this is directed by Frank Henenlotter. It is written by Robert Martin and Frank Henenlotter. It stars James Lorenz, Joanne Ritchie, and Patty Mullen. So what is this movie about? All right, anyway, it is about this fellow whose last name is Franken. You can see where this is going. And he's got this girlfriend, and the girlfriend is killed horribly in a lawnmower accident. Yes, she is run over by a lawnmower and killed. All right, so this kind of sends old Franken into a state of shock, a state of craziness or whatever, and he recreates her body, but he uses the body of this Times Square prostitute, you know, and uses parts of his girlfriend's body on this prostitute's body or whatever, and henceforth Frankenhooker is born. All right, and the big tagline in this movie is after Frankenhooker is brought back to life, she's like kind of wandering the streets, you know, she can barely walk, but she's wandering the streets, and she's like, you want a date? You know, kind of thing. Like I said, it is one of these movies that is so trashy. It is just incredible fun, all right? You could rank it up there with movies like Basket Case, also by Henenlotter. Another one he did called Brain Damage. That's pretty much the same. Hollywood, another one I thought about, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. I mean, that is the ultimate trashy title. You know, well, wait a minute. There is one more. Sorority Babes and the Slime Ball Bowl-orama. Ultimate trash. All right, just great trashy fun. All right, that is Frankenhooker. I'm going to shut the hell up about Frankenhooker and move on to our final movie. Our final movie is Tremels. All right, this is directed by Ron Underwood. It is written by S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock, and Ron Underwood. It stars Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Reba McEntire, Michael Gross, and Finn Carter. All right, so what is Tremors about? Tremors is about this small town. I cannot remember the name of the town, but I believe it's in, I want to say it's in Arizona, but I may be wrong, maybe New Mexico, and I'm sure somebody is going to correct me about that if they watch this movie, and that's fine, you know, I just can't remember. Anyway, it's kind of like an old west, modern old western town. I mean, there is not a lot going on in this town. Only thing about it is there are these creatures, these big worm-like creatures that are now living under the ground, and they sense you by movement or vibration. So if you're standing there stomping your foot, if you're making too much noise, these things are going to come up under the ground and they're going to swallow you whole. So it is up to our heroes, Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, along with Reba McEntire and Michael Gross as a rather hilarious couple who seem to like hunting just a little too much. It is up to them to save the town. Gosh, I cannot remember the name of this town. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry. But it is up to them to save the town from these creatures. This movie has spawned a bunch of sequels. I think there are now like 5 or 6 sequels to the Tremors movies. Now, the only one that Kevin Bacon was in was the very first one. And then after that, it seemed to kind of narrowed down to Michael Gross and Reba McEntire. And then finally, I think it was just Michael Gross that was starring in these movies. And Michael Gross played the dad in Family Ties, if you don't remember him, all right? Anyway, all right, that is going to do it for 50 Years of Horror Fiction. The year is 1990. Thank you guys for watching, and take care, and stay scared. Bye-bye.